Everybody, Mega Ruler 31 back from FSI DFS. Hope everybody's having a good day. I will be covering the massive 15-game slate for Fridays, the 30th of July. Today is the Major League Baseball trading deadline at 4 p.m., but that doesn't necessarily mean everything will be done by 4 p.m. because I believe that's the time that everybody has to submit their paperwork, and then some teams after that could potentially still have an opportunity to move some players, so you might see some scratches still. So got to pay attention to that. Still a couple COVID things out there too, so hopefully what we saw with Washington and Colorado pitcher were just anomalies, and hopefully we'll get back to baseball the way they've been doing it without any scratches, and we'll get the month of August with these new players settling in before we have September call-offs, and then rosters expand and things get even crazier then. So looking forward to a good night. Had a great night last night. The lineups that we talked about here, I know it's kind of hard with Toronto. I kind of split my cash between on FanDuel because last time they let you kind of back out. So I actually came in second in a GPP with my Toronto stack. And then my cash, I had San Diego and Detroit pretty much, and they did well on DK. And I ended up with my Toronto stack with 165. Musgrove and Montas had shutouts. They did great for me. And then for the San Diego stack was just a little bit behind it. It was 153.5. And, that didn't do super great in GPPs, but it did garner me a lot in cash, made a couple $100 there. So very satisfying night, and hopefully we can continue going on. Tonight, with such a big slate, I'm not going to go game by game. I am going to just give you the pitchers and the stacks that I'm looking at, and then we'll go into lineup construction at the end. So high-end pitchers, Burns and Lynn, like both of them. They're very expensive, both over 10K. I would say Burns, I kind of would favor a little. Well, actually, Lynn, I'd favor it. Burns gets Atlanta, who is still a decent team. Winds blowing out 9 miles per hour, 91 degrees, so it's going to be hot there. I think Atlanta still has a decent lineup here, but he's been solid this year. Definitely 20, 25 DK points coming from him, but I think Lynn's a little bit safer. He's a bigger favorite with a negative 225. White Sox have a 5-run total over that, and they get Cleveland, who's pretty much mailed in for the year. So I think that Lynn is in the better situation. Burns has, I think, a little bit more K upside, but I definitely like both of them. Sonny Gray would be my next favorite pitcher at the top end. He gets the Mets, who are back together. They're actually favored here. Gray has been rumored to trade, but I think that's kind of fallen through. I think he's kind of staying with Cincinnati. So he'd be my third one. If you're looking for a GPP, I think Bassett against the Angels, who's pretty banged up besides Ohtani and Upton, and it's just a couple other pieces of guys here. But he doesn't really have K upside. Looked for him to 17 to 20 DK points. So I think he's a GPP, great for leverage. I think he's good if you're playing the night slate. I think he'd be one of my favorite pitchers there. In the mid-range, Sandoval on the other side of it, he's had a couple good runs recently. The A's are much better at it. Sterling Marte, but they still have some strikeout, and he's been solid. So probably 13 to 15 DK points from him. At 8.8, that's not too bad there. Talon, I think, would be my next favorite in the mid-range. He gets a Marlins team on the road. It's a pitching park upgrade over Yankee Stadium. Solid bullpen behind him to kind of preserve the win. The Marlins are okay, not a horrible team, but not the best team. Talon's been okay recently, so I think for 8.7, he's good there. Barrios would be the next one in line for the Twins. However, I know the St. Louis team really hasn't done much this year, but the problem is that he is rumored to be traded. So just be careful, make sure that he's pitching. And then finally in the mid-range, I think Gausman would be, I'm drawing the line at mid-range here at 9.5. So he'd be the highest guy in the mid-range. He's against Houston, but Houston doesn't really strike out, even though he's having a great season, and it's in San Francisco. Not super interested in him. But where I am super interested this slate, and I think I might go double like lower range pitchers. We got a lot of great options down here. Logan Gilbert for Seattle against Texas. Texas got rid of Gallo. They really have nothing left. They are not a patient team. A lot of Ks here. Gilbert's been pitching very, very well, even on the road. So sign me up for him at 7-2. I think he, in some lineups, might be my SP1 tonight, and in others, he's definitely my lock for an SP2 if I'm going up with Burns or Lynn. So my second favorite guy in the low range would be Tersant going up against Burns. So might be hard for the win, but this guy is just incredible. He has only pitched, I think, 3 games so far in the majors, but his strikeouts are just incredible that he's been getting. He's had 30 DK points, 25 DK points. He's just really, really impressive young pitchers for the Braves. So really, really excited about him. And Milwaukee has been a solid matchup to target recently. Sometimes they get hits, but I think for the most part, they only have a 4.28 total. I think Tersant is a great play here, and I'll be pairing him with Gilbert in the lineups where I'm trying to get the big bats in. And then Scoble has also been very, very good. I know he's going to be limited, and I know we said that about Meese yesterday, and they let him go a little bit longer, but Scoble against Baltimore, they have a 5.18 run total. I think the Baltimore side's total is high just because of the bullpen, so he might not hold the lead and get the win, but I think Scoble is definitely someone you consider. So just to recap, we're going Burns and Lynn and Gray and Bassett. He would be the GPP one. Like I said, watch for trade for Gray, but I think he's going to be okay. And then for the medium one, Sandoval, Holland, Barrios again, trade, Gossman, GPP, and then I love Gilbert, Tersant, and Scoble there. So let's look at stacks. I think San Diego is going to be my top stack of the day. They get Colorado, John Gray, not Coors Field, but in San Diego, but they're amazingly affordable. Adam Frazier leading off at 3-3, split matchup. I know Tatis is very expensive at 6-4, but Cronenworth, lefty righty matchup there, 4-6. Machado is down to 4-9. That's good. Hosmer, maybe even skip over him. Grissom might get back up in the order. Caratini as a catcher if you want to do kind of wraparound thing. Yes, there is a pitcher there, but he's only 2-1. Favorite stack of the day. Second one will be Toronto. They're going back to Toronto, so I think they're going to be really jacked up there. It's going to be at the Rogers Center. They're against Daniel Lynch, who's not a great pitcher, has given up a lot of hard contact. So again, they're expensive, but they're a little bit more reasonable today. You can fit them in, especially if you use Gilbert and Tersant as your pitching combination. And just looking at the weather here too, do have the wind blowing out a little bit here. So that could be, and cool temperatures potentially. But I think, believe they can close the roof there, so that might not be a factor anyways. But anyways, I just absolutely, love them against Daniel Lynch. I think I'd take the Padres just on pricing, but Toronto is definitely, they put up 13 runs last night, and it wasn't, Vlado had the only home run, so it wasn't like the Oprah Winfrey show where you get a home run, and you get a home run, you get a home run. They just hit, and everybody did good, and most of the guys that I played had over 10 fantasy points per player, which is really good. Next team I'm looking to target is the Philadelphia Phillies. Got to watch for this lineup, though, because Harper was out yesterday with back spasms. Hoskins been banged up. But if they bring out a good lineup, or even if you want to skip one of the big bats in here, I think they're a really good stack against Crow, who's been splits neutral and really not a good pitcher. They have 4.72 total, but I think that they'll do their wind blown out of the Pittsburgh Park at 8 miles per hour, so it helps a little bit there. Next would be Chicago White Sox. They're going to be my fourth favorite one just because they've been disappointing. I picked up Cesar Hernandez from Cleveland, so I don't know if he'll play or not, if they have like COVID protocols they need to go through. But we definitely prefer them against left-handed pitcher. But Maeda has been really not a good pitcher here. So they have a 5.14 total. So I kind of like them. I think they'll be low owned and contrarian, especially on a 15 game slate for a more expensive stack. Yankees definitely would be in favorite GPP stack. See how these new pieces go. Gallo should be in the lineup. They might have to wait for some of the other pieces to clear COVID protocols if they pick up other players like Rizzo. Cincinnati is definitely in play against Carlos Carrasco coming off the injured list. Good pitcher, but how long is he going to go? Mets bullpen's okay, but Cincinnati, I don't think I'd go full stack here, but India, Winker, Votto, I think is definitely a solid. Naquin, if you want to throw him in the stack if he bats up higher. So I'd maybe go a 3-4 guy for Cincinnati. Dodgers are always in play. Just the rich getting richer. They're ending up with Scherzer and Turner with a trade for Washington. It looks like that's like a video game trade that you're seeing here. If this was in fantasy baseball, all other owners in the league would be saying like, hell no, there's no way we're putting this one through, but could just be absolutely crazy. Lineup for the Dodgers going into the postseason, getting healthy, very, very strong. Kansas City, I like the right-handers. In this one, I think they match up very, very well. I'm not like going all in on this, but I think if you want to take some of the pieces from them, they definitely grade out well against Stripling. He's been a reverse blitz pitcher and giving up a lot of runs recently. So if you want to sprinkle some of them in there, they'd be my fourth GPP stack. For cheap ones, going right back to Detroit, 5.18 total against Matt Harvey, who's been reverse splits, but also he's just been bad all around. So I definitely are going to load up on them and target Harvey. Minnesota makes a cheap stack. I think if you want to get some pieces against Wade LeBlanc, who's been not good here. Rooker has been doing really well. He's only 3-2. I have him in a lot of my lineups that I've made already today. Cubs are very intriguing, especially if they continue to sell. They get possibly John Lester. I don't think he's official yet, but if he's out there and it's the Cubs versus him, yes, it's a revenge game for him. And yes, he's had, I think, a good outing against the Cubs and they'd be one to target, but I'm not interested in Lester here, but I'm interested in these righty bats. Bryant might be gone, Baez might be gone, but Duffy, Wisdom, Bote, there's a nice, like really cheap in the middle of the order stack for you that you can throw out there. Marisnik, even like just so many good cheap options that I think you can throw in and sprinkle in, and that I will be playing with some of the higher lines, because if you're looking here, Duffy at 2.5, Wisdom at 4.2, Bote at 2.4, just absolutely love them with the splits matchup against Leicester. And then finally, Baltimore righties would be another place I'd look against Skullball, who's a lefty, and then against the bullpen. So that's pretty much where we're looking for bats. Let me just run through some lineup constructions quickly for you, and we'll get you onto your weekend. Hopefully it's going to be a good one. So like I said, again, just watch for trade news and stuff. So starting my lineups with Gilbert and Toussaint as my SP1 and SP2. And I think if I'm going with the Padres, I can take Cronenworth, Fraser, Machado, and Tatis. And then I can throw a Philly stack in there too if I want to go with like Real Muto, McCutcheon, Miller if he's in, and then just figure out who to punt for the last outfield spot. If I want to go 3-man with them, that works also. If or not 3-man, if I want to go 5 with them, I just want to see who the lineup is. If Grifsom's like hitting up higher, that makes another good one, or Carantini, a catcher, makes a good one, and that opens up, more salary for the other 2 spots. You can get some really good bats in there with that one. So I kind of like throwing in the Phillies with the Padres. If you didn't want to do that, you can go with some of the Detroit bats with Padres again, like I did yesterday. I think you can pay up with catcher and take Haas, and then still take the core of like Cronenworth, Frazier, Machado, Tatis, and then pick two of the outfielders there, and you have money left for like another decent outfielder, probably in the mid 4K range. If I take the Blue Jays, I think what I would do is I would take Vlad, I'd take Bichette, Hernandez, Springer, and Simeon. But I would probably either drop Simeon, T. Hernandez, or Springer, because if you do that and you take a 2K catcher, you can fit in Bote, Brian, if he's still on the team, and Wisdom. But even if Brian's still not on the team, then you can definitely make it work. You can maybe even pay up a little bit more at catcher in this scenario too, because you'd have some money back if you took Vlad, Simeon, Bichette, T. Hernandez, and Springer. You probably could get Bote, Wisdom, and then Marisnik in the outfield, and then pay up at catcher. But I just see how the lineup comes out. But I think that's one that I really, really like. If you want to pay up for both pitchers and go Burns and Lynn because you think everybody's going to play with these lower guys and you don't trust them, that's fine too. I would stack the it works out well to stack Detroit. So I'm going back to Cabrera here. I was off him almost all season, but he's just been doing really well. I believe he had 2 home runs yesterday or the day before. He's just been hitting really well. Shoup, Candelario, Badu. If you want to put Haas at catcher, that's fine. If not, pay down for like Carantini would be my favorite catcher at 2.1. But there's like 5 or 6 guys in the 2 to 2.1K range, so really can't go wrong there. So if you're paying up for both pitchers, just take 5 Detroit guys, whichever guys fit in your lineup, and then spring Carantini at catcher is really cheap, and that opens up. It's usually probably going to be shortstop and outfield space. If you stack them, it might open up at first or second base if you do take Haas at catcher, but then you can kind of, if you don't take Cabrera, you can kind of flex, like shoot between first and second, so it gives you a lot of flexibility there. So lots of options, 15-game slate. Again, don't really have to worry about weather tonight, which is good, but we just have to worry about trades and always keeping an eye out for any COVID cases or anything like that. So good luck to you guys. Leave some comments below. We'll see if we can help you out with your questions. Hit me up at Twitter at MegaRuler31, and we appreciate you watching. We'll see you next time.